Okay, let's unpack this. This age-old human dream, right? Building machines that look like us.
Yeah, it goes way back. Myths, legends, automatons, serving gods and kings. It's always been there.
And now, I mean, it feels like it's not just a dream anymore. It's actually happening. Labs are building these incredible things.
It really is becoming tangible. Yeah. Electrifying, as you said.
So today, we're going to dive right into humanoid robotics. Not just any machines, but ones designed to, well, look and move like us.
And critically, designed to work in our world, using our tools, navigating our spaces.
Exactly. And maybe even understanding, like, our social cues. That's part of it too, isn't it?
It definitely can be, especially with social robots.
So our mission here is to explore how these things are actually built, the engineering side, and how they think, the AI part.
But also how we react to them. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. Plus the impact, right? The bigger picture.
Yeah, the impact. Because this isn't just cool tech, is it? It feels like something bigger, a fundamental shift for civilization, maybe.
I think that's fair to say.
That's
It has that potential, absolutely. And to help understand it all, we've really dug into a lot of different sources. We've looked at historical accounts, tracing this whole idea back. Deep engineering principles, the nuts and bolts,
Right.
plus psychology studies about how we feel about these robots, and of course, real-world examples of where they're being used right now.
So the goal is to pull out the key stuff, the interesting bits, the aha moments.
Precisely. Distill it down so you, the listener, can get a really solid grasp on what's happening and why it matters.
Okay, so first things first. Let's get our terms straight. The word robot gets thrown around a lot. What makes a humanoid robot different from, I don't know, a robot arm in a factory?
That's a really important distinction to make right off the bat. So the ISO, the International Standards Organization, has a broad definition for robot.
Right.
Basically, it's a reprogrammable, multifunctional manipulator designed to move stuff, materials, parts, tools through program motions. So yeah, that factory arm, definitely a robot by that definition. Got it. Standard industrial robot.
Exactly. But a humanoid robot, that's much more specific. The key thing is it looks like a human body. Torso, head, arms, legs, usually.
But it's not just about looks, right?
You're
It's
right.
not just to make it seem friendly.
No, not primarily. It's actually a deeply functional design choice. They're built that way so they can use human tools and navigate human environments.
Ah, okay. Like opening a door or
Yeah.
climbing stairs.
Precisely. Or using a power drill designed for a human hand, operating machinery meant for people. The humanoid shape makes them compatible with the world we built. It's about fitting in.
That makes sense. Leverage the existing infrastructure.
You got it. And then there's another layer, the social robot. This is usually a type of humanoid, but it's specifically designed to interact with us, following social rules.
So more about communication and interaction.
Exactly. They often have more human-like features, maybe expressive faces, gestures, all designed to trigger a social response in us. Think about robots helping in hospitals, or maybe as companions. They need to engage socially. Okay, so it's kind of a hierarchy. Industrial robot, then humanoid for our environment, then social robot for interaction within that environment. It's about the purpose.
Perfectly put. Purpose and environment are key.
Yeah.
Understanding that helps make sense of why they're designed the way they are, why one robot looks like a box on wheels and another looks, well, like us. It's all about the job it needs to do.
That really clarifies things. And, digging into this, what's amazing is realizing this isn't some new 21st century idea. Wanting machines that look like us, that's ancient.
Oh, absolutely ancient. This whole quest, it's not just about silicon and circuits. It's a continuation of something deep in human history, in our myths, our stories.
Like Greek mythology, weren't there robot-like things there?
You bet. Think of Hephaestus, the blacksmith god.
Yeah.
He supposedly made these golden handmaidens, talking tools, basically, that helped him work.
Wow.
And Telos, the giant bronze automaton guarding Crete, tireless protector. These stories show that desire to create autonomous helpers, even protectors.
And it wasn't just the Greeks.
Not at all. Ancient China, 4th century BCE, there's this Taoist text, the Liezi. It tells of an engineer, Yan Shi, who built this incredible life-size automaton. Walked, sang, moved realistically. Apparently fooled the king at first.
No way, that early.
That early. And then, much later, 13th century, you have Ismail al-Jazari, an amazing Muslim engineer. He designed a humanoid waitress that could actually serve drinks.
Seriously, a drink-serving robot in the 13th century.
Yep, using clever mechanics and hydraulics.
Yeah.
Even medieval Europe had legends of, like talking brazen heads or androids doing chores. It pops up everywhere.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Listening to those examples, Hephaestus's helpers, Yanshi's performer, Al-Jazari's waitress, the why behind building them sounds exactly the same as today. Automate work, provide service, maybe companionship.
It's strikingly similar, isn't it? The fundamental drive hasn't changed much at all. We want machines to do dull work, dangerous work, to assist us, maybe even entertain us.
It's just the how that's different.
Precisely. The technology has evolved incredibly, from pneumatics and clockwork to AI and electric motors. But that core ambition, creating artificial helpers in our image, that's been consistent for thousands of years. It says something about us, I think.
It really does. So, okay, let's trace that how. How did we get from myths and cool mechanical toys to the robots we see today, like Asimo or Atlas? What were the key steps?
Well, it was a long road, and for centuries it was mostly about concepts or showpieces. Think Hero of Alexandria back in the 1st century. He made these devices using steam and water pressure. Not really self-powered robots, but they mimicked lifelike motion for ceremonies. Pretty ingenious stuff.
Like theatrical effects.
Kind of, yeah. Then you jump forward to Leonardo da Vinci around 1495. His notebooks have sketches for a mechanical knight.
Da Vinci. Really?
Oh yeah, designed to stand, sit, move its arms, lift its visor, all with pulleys and gears.
Yes.
A super early, sophisticated blueprint for a humanoid. Way ahead of its time.
Amazing. So when did things start to get, well, more functional, less theoretical?
The 20th century was the big turning point, where fiction started influencing reality. Carol Capek's play, RUR, in 1921. That's where the word robot comes from. It got people thinking about artificial workers.
Right. R.U.R. Rossum's Universal Robot.
Exactly. Then fast forward to 1939, the New York World's Fair. Westinghouse shows off Electro.
Electro. I've seen pictures. Big, clunky-looking guy.
That's the one. Over 7 feet tall. Could walk a bit, speak about 700 words off a record player, puff a cigarette. A sensation back then. Very pre-programmed, obviously, but a real physical humanoid.
Still impressive for the time.
Definitely. And then, though they weren't humanoid, Gray Walter's tortoises in the late 40s were huge.
Tortoises. Why were they important?
Because they were autonomous. Little wheeled things, Elmer and Elsie, they could find their way to a light source, navigate obstacles, even find their charging station. They showed basic robotic intelligence and adaptability. Foundational stuff for cybernetics.
Okay, so the building blocks were starting to come together. When did we get full-scale humanoids that could, really move and interact?
That really kicked off in the 70s, especially in Japan. Waseda University built Wabbit-1, one of the first full-scale humanoids that could walk, see, communicate a bit, and even grab things. A major milestone.
Wabbit-1, and then Honda started its work.
Yeah, Honda's research starting in the 80s was massive. It led to Asimo in 2000.
Asimo was everywhere for a while, the little white robot that could run and climb stairs.
That's him. Asimo was a huge leap in stable walking and running bipedal locomotion. Really pushed the boundaries of dynamic balance.
And then things seem to have accelerated even more recently, with companies like Boston Dynamics.
Exploded, really. Boston Dynamics Atlas, everyone's seen those videos, backflips, parkour, dancing.
Yeah, the hydraulic one was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Scary almost.
Incredible agility and power, yeah. Though they've now transitioned to a fully electric Atlas, which is also significant, but Atlas showed what was possible dynamically.
And now it seems like the focus is shifting towards, actual jobs. Companies making robots for warehouses or factories.
Exactly. You've got agility robotics with Digit being tested in logistics. And Tesla, of course, with Optimus, aiming for mass production for factory work, eventually maybe homes.
So we're moving from lab wonders to actual workhorses.
That's the trend. If you trace that line, Yanshi's automaton, Al-Jazari's waitress, Electro, Asimo's walking, Atlas's gymnastics, now Digit and Optimus heading for warehouses, the how is finally catching up to the why.
So what does this all mean? It really feels like we're seeing a shift. These aren't just experiments anymore.
No, it's a definite shift from laboratory marvels to serious attempts at real-world deployment. The technology, the AI, the economics, they're starting to align for practical applications.
Okay, so let's get into the engineering weeds a bit. Building these things is obviously incredibly hard. And you mentioned bipedalism, walking on 2 legs, is maybe the biggest challenge. Why is walking so tough for a robot when, we do without thinking?
Right. It seems so simple for us, but for a robot, it's a nightmare from an engineering perspective. It really boils down to stability.
Stability.
Yeah, dynamic stability. Unlike, say, a car or a wheeled robot with a wide, stable base, a humanoid is basically balancing a heavy torso on top of 2 skinny legs. It's inherently unstable.
Like balancing a broomstick on your hand.
Exactly like that. It's often called the inverted pendulum problem. The robot is constantly falling and catching itself with every step. It requires continuous, precise adjustments of weight, posture, joint angles. It's a real-time balancing act.
So how did engineers first tackle that? Was there like a standard approach?
For a long time, the main approach was something called zero moment point theory, or ZMP, developed back in the late 60s by Myomir Vukobratovich.
Zero moment point.
Okay, what's the gist?
The basic idea is to control the robot's movement so that the point on the ground where all the forces balance out the ZMP stays within the area covered by its feet, the support polygon.
Ah, so keep the center of gravity managed relative to the feet.
Kind of, yeah, but it's more about the point of zero moment, which is related but slightly different dynamically. ZMP worked pretty well for slow, careful walking on flat surfaces. Think early Asimo demos. But it had limits. Couldn't handle running or rough ground.
Exactly. ZMP is very prescriptive. It assumes you know the terrain and can plan the exact foot placement perfectly. It struggled with dynamic movements, uneven surfaces, unexpected pushes. Basically, the real world.
So they needed something more adaptive.
Precisely. And this led to a huge paradigm shift, moving away from trying to calculate everything perfectly in advance towards using AI and machine learning to let the robot learn how to walk and balance.
Learn. How does a robot learn to walk?
Primarily through two methods now: reinforcement learning, RL, and imitation learning.
Okay, reinforcement learning, that's the trial and error thing.
You got it. The robot tries different movements, often millions of times in simulation first. It gets rewards for actions that lead to stable walking or achieving a goal, and penalties for falling or failing. Over time, it learns incredibly robust and flexible strategies for walking, running, adapting to slippery spots, recovering balance, stuff that's almost impossible to program by hand.
So it kind of discovers how to walk on its own. That's wild.
It really is. And it allows for that amazing dynamic agility we see in robots like Atlas.
And the other one, imitation learning.
That's where the robot learns by watching and copying human movements. You might have a human wear sensors or just film them doing a task, and the robot's AI tries to replicate those motions.
So learning by example.
Exactly. It's great for teaching complex, nuanced movements that are hard to describe mathematically, like grasping different objects or performing specific manual tasks. Tesla uses this approach a lot for Optimus, feeding it human motion data.
Okay, so this move from ZMP to RL and imitation learning, it sounds like it's making robots much less robotic in a way, more fluid and adaptable, like us.
That's a great way to put it. They're moving beyond rigid, pre-programmed routines towards something that mirrors our own organic adaptability. They can handle uncertainty and complexity much better now.
Okay, so that's the walking and balance. What about the actual movement, the muscles of the machine? How do they generate the force to move those limbs?
Right, the actuators. That's
Yeah.
what converts energy, electric, hydraulic, or pneumatic, into physical motion at the joints. The choice of actuator is super critical. It affects everything: power, speed, noise, efficiency, cost, everything.
So what are the main types we see?
Well, the big three are electric, hydraulic, and pneumatic. Electric actuators are probably the most common now, especially in newer designs.
Why is that?
They're generally smaller, lighter, quieter, and pretty energy efficient. Clean, too, no fluid leaks. The downside is they often have lower power density compared to hydraulics.
Meaning you might need several electric motors for one strong joint.
Exactly, or complex gear systems. This can add weight, complexity, and cost. Think of robots like HRP2 or the new electric Atlas. They rely heavily on sophisticated electric actuation.
Okay, so electric is common. What about hydraulics? You mentioned the old Atlas used that.
Yeah, hydraulic actuators are the powerhouses. They offer the highest power density, meaning incredible strength and speed for their size. That's why the old Atlas could do those amazing jumps and lifts. Very precise control, too.
But they have drawbacks. Sounded like it.
Oh, yeah. They need pumps, fluid reservoirs, high-pressure lines. So they tend to be bulkier, much noisier, consume a lot of power, and they can leak hydraulic fluid, which is messy, and a maintenance headache.
Right. So powerful, but complex and maybe less practical for some applications.
That's the trade-off. And then you have pneumatic actuators. These use compressed air or gas.
Like air muscles.
Sometimes, yeah, like the McKibben muscle. They can be simple, lightweight, cost-effective, and offer a good force-to-weight ratio. But the compressibility of air makes precise control tricky. Less finesse than electric or hydraulic.
Okay, so electric, hydraulic, pneumatic, each with pros and cons. You mentioned Boston Dynamics switching Atlas from hydraulic to electric. That seems like a big deal. What does that tell us?
It tells us a lot about industry priorities. moving away from the sheer power of hydraulics towards the advantages of electric. Probably better efficiency, quieter operation, maybe a wider range of motion, and crucially, easier integration with batteries for untethered operation. It signals a focus on practicality and maybe broader deployment.
And cost must be a huge factor too, right? Especially if companies like Tesla want to make millions of these.
Absolutely enormous. Actuators are one of the most expensive parts of a humanoid, maybe 30 to 50% or even more of the total cost, especially for simpler models.
Wow, half the cost just for the muscles.
Potentially. So developing cheaper proprietary actuators, like Tesla is aiming to do, isn't just an improvement. It's essential for making these robots affordable enough to the mass market. It's a key economic driver.
Got it. So we've covered balance and muscles. How do these things actually perceive the world? How do they see, touch, hear? What are the senses?
Perception is obviously critical for autonomy. They need a whole suite of sensors, often mimicking or even exceeding our own senses in some ways.
So starting with vision, cameras, obviously.
Cameras, yes, but much more. Computer vision uses high-res cameras combined with sophisticated AI image analysis. This lets them identify objects, track movement, recognize faces, judge distances, navigate complex scenes.
And they use other things too, right? Like lasers?
Yep, often LiDAR light detection and ranging. It uses laser pulses to build detailed, real-time 3D maps of the surroundings. Incredibly important for obstacle avoidance, path planning, especially in dynamic environments. Some also use infrared for depth sensing or seeing in low light. Vision systems are a real game changer for navigation.
Okay, so that's sight. What about touch? How does a robot feel things?
Through tactile and haptic systems, think sensors embedded in the robot's hands, fingertips, maybe other parts of its body.
Like artificial skin?
Kind of, yeah. These sensors detect contact, pressure, force, texture sometimes, absolutely crucial for manipulating objects delicately.
Like picking up an egg without breaking it.
Exactly. The sensors provide feedback to adjust grip force dynamically. It's also vital for safety when working near humans. If a robot bumps into someone unexpectedly, tactile sensors can detect that collision and trigger an immediate stop.
Makes sense. Safety is huge. Okay, vision, touch, hearing. That seems like it would be really hard in noisy human environments.
It is hard. Auditory systems are key for voice commands and interaction, but they face big challenges, like the cocktail party effect you mentioned earlier.
Right, focusing on one voice in a crowd. How do robots manage that?
They use multiple microphones, often in a binaural setup like our two ears, to help locate sound sources. They might even physically turn their head to get a better fix. And a really unique challenge for them is filtering out their own noise motors, gears, fans.
Ah, I didn't think of that. Their own body noise.
Exactly. It can be loud and complex,
Oh.
but deep learning models are getting really good at this processing sound, identifying speech, filtering noise, much better than older methods.
So it's not just one sense, but how they all work together.
That's the absolute key. The real magic is the sensory fusion, integrating data from vision, touch, hearing, proprioception, knowing where its own limbs are, all in real time.
Give me an example, like making that omelet you mentioned.
Perfect example. High-level command. Make an omelet. The robot needs vision to find the eggs, bowl, pan, stove. It needs tactile sensing to pick up the fragile egg, crack it without crushing it, whisk it. It might need hearing to understand follow-up instructions, all happening simultaneously, integrated by the AI to achieve the goal.
What's fascinating here is it's not just about individual senses, but how a robot integrates them to act in a cohesive, goal-oriented way, making it a truly general-purpose machine.
Precisely. That integration is what separates these advanced humanoids from older, single-task robots. It's the foundation for versatility and intelligence in complex, unpredictable environments. It's moving towards comprehensive understanding and action.
Which brings us right to the AI, the brain. We've gone from robots that just followed simple scripts to ones that seem to learn and make decisions. How did that happen? What's powering this leap?
It's all down to the massive leaps in artificial intelligence. Think back to early systems, maybe like Eliza, the chatbot from the 60s.
Yeah, the therapist program. Very basic responses.
Right, very rules-based, pre-programmed responses. You could usually trip it up pretty easily. Modern humanoids are using much more sophisticated AI to perceive, decide, and critically learn continuously.
So what kinds of AI are we talking about? We mentioned reinforcement learning and imitation learning for movement.
Those are definitely key pillars. Imitation learning, again, is huge for teaching complex physical skills by copying humans, like Tesla training Optimus, using data from people doing factory tasks. It shortcuts the need to program every tiny motion.
Downloads the skill, basically.
In a way, yeah. And reinforcement learning, RL, isn't just for walking. It's used for learning all sorts of tasks: object manipulation, navigation strategies, recovery behaviors. The robot learns the best way to do things through that reward penalty system, making it super adaptable. Atlas's acrobatics rely heavily on RL.
Okay, those make sense for learning physical actions. But what about understanding complex commands, like clean up this messy workbench? That requires more than just movement.
Absolutely. And that's where large language models, LLMs, are coming in, and it's a really exciting development.
LLMs, like ChatGPT, how do they control a robot?
They act as a sort of high-level reasoning and planning engine. You give the robot the complex natural language command, clean up the workbench. The LLM can understand the intent and break that down into a sequence of concrete actions the robot can actually execute.
So it translates human language into robot tasks.
Exactly, like identify tools, identify designated storage location, plan paths to pick up tool, grasp tool securely, plan path to storage, place tool, repeat. The LLM does that high-level task decomposition, bridging the gap between abstract goals and physical actions. It's what enables truly general-purpose capabilities.
That's a major step. And how do they train these complex AI models? It must take ages if they have to learn everything in the real world.
It would. That's why simulation environments, or digital twins, are absolutely critical.
Digital twins, so
Yeah.
virtual copies of the robot and its environment.
Precisely. Highly realistic simulations where they can train the AI incredibly fast. The virtual robot can try tasks millions, even billions of times, learning from virtual mistakes without breaking expensive hardware or taking physical time.
So they can speed up evolution, basically. Cram years of learning into days.
Essentially, yes. They
Mhm.
can run many simulations in parallel, test different algorithms, and massively accelerate the training process. It drastically reduces the physical pratfalls, as you said earlier.
So this mix imitation for skills, RL for adaptability, LLMs for understanding and planning, all turbocharged by simulation. It really explains how these robots are getting so capable so quickly. They're not just executing anymore, they're figuring things out.
That's the core of it. Moving from pre-programmed execution to adaptive, goal-oriented problem solving.
Okay, and related to LLMs, what about just talking to us? Natural language processing, NLP, how does that work for a robot?
NLP is the key for that natural interaction. It's about enabling computers to understand and generate human language effectively. It generally involves three main parts.
Okay.
First, speech recognition, turning our spoken words into text the computer can process. Second, natural language understanding, NLU, figuring out the meaning and intent behind that text, not just the words, but what we actually mean. And third, speech synthesis, generating realistic, human-sounding speech back to us.
And modern AI helps with all of that.
Immensely. Frameworks like Google's Dialogflow or Microsoft's LEIS use machine learning for really sophisticated NLU. And generative AI models, like the ones powering LLMs, can produce incredibly fluent and context-aware dialogue.
So they can actually hold a conversation, not just respond to simple commands.
Increasingly, yes.
Yeah.
Going beyond just the literal words to grasp intent, context, maybe even sentiment or emotion in our voice.
Emotion here.
It's an active area of research and development. Understanding if a user sounds frustrated, happy, urgent, that allows the robot to respond more appropriately, more effectively.
So it means these robots could be much more than just tools. They could be receptionists, guides, companions, understanding not just what we say, but how we say it and why.
That's the direction things are heading, making the interaction much more seamless, intuitive, and potentially empathetic.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating and maybe a little weird. As these robots get more human-like in looks, movement, conversation, we run into the psychological barrier, right? The famous Uncanny Valley. What exactly is that?
Yeah, yes, the Uncanny Valley. It's a really influential idea from Masahiro Mori back in 1970. He proposed that as a robot looks and acts more human, our emotional response, our affinity for it generally increases, up to a point.
To a point.
Yeah. When it gets almost perfectly human, but something is still slightly off, our affinity suddenly plunges. We don't find it appealing anymore. We find it eerie, creepy, unsettling. That dip is the Uncanny Valley.
Why does that happen? Why does almost human freak us out more than, say, a clearly mechanical robot?
There are a few theories. One is perceptual mismatch. Our brain sees features that look very human, realistic skin, eyes, but then the movement might be too rigid, the blink rate slightly wrong, the smile doesn't quite reach the eyes. These conflicting signals create cognitive dissonance. a feeling of wrongness.
Okay, conflicting cues. What else?
Categorization difficulty. Our brains like to neatly categorize things, human, non-human. An almost human robot falls into this ambiguous middle ground, which makes us uneasy. We can't quite place it. And related to that is the violation of social norms. We have deeply ingrained expectations for human interaction, subtle cues in expression, eye contact, timing. When an android mimics these but gets them subtly wrong, it feels unnatural, even disturbing.
Is there a famous example of a robot that people often say falls into this valley?
Hanson Robotics Sophia is often mentioned. Very realistic face, capable of many expressions, but many people find the overall effect uncanny. The movements, the timing of expressions can feel just slightly off.
Interesting. And is this feeling universal, or does it vary?
It seems to vary. Research suggests cultural differences. One study found Japanese participants were less sensitive to it than French participants. And there might be a generational aspect, too. Younger people, growing up with realistic CGI and robots in media, might be less bothered by it. Their threshold for uncanny might be different.
So designers actually have to be careful not to make robots too human-like sometimes.
Exactly. It's a real balancing act. Often aiming for moderate anthropomorphism, clearly a robot, but with friendly, appealing features or even a more stylized, cartoonish look can be more effective for comfortable interaction than striving for hyperrealism. It sidesteps the creepiness factor.
Understanding that helps appreciate why some robots look the way they do. It's psychology, not just engineering.
Absolutely. And that leads us directly to social robots, which are designed specifically with these human reactions in mind. Their whole purpose is interaction, engagement, often emotional support.
So robots designed to be companions or helpers.
Precisely. Think about applications in healthcare, elder care, education, places where connection matters.
Are there good examples of this working well?
Oh yes. A classic is Paro, the therapeutic robot seal.
The fluffy seal. I've heard of that.
Yeah. It responds to touch, sound, light. Studies show it really helps reduce stress and anxiety in elderly patients, encourages interaction in nursing homes. It provides some benefits of animal therapy without the practical issues.
That's amazing. A robot seal bringing comfort.
It is. Another example is Pepper, the humanoid robot. It's been used in hospitals for patient intake, in schools, stores, designed explicitly for social engagement and providing information in a friendly way.
So these robots could really help with things like loneliness or easing the burden on caregivers.
That's the potential, yes. Offering companionship, emotional support, assistance. It's a really important area, especially with aging populations.
Okay, so beyond the social and therapeutic side, where are humanoids actually getting deployed for work? Where's the rubber meeting the road in industry?
The big push right now is definitely in industrial settings, manufacturing, logistics, warehousing.
Why there first?
Two main reasons. Labor shortages in those sectors are a huge problem, and the jobs often involve repetitive, physically demanding tasks with high injury rates. It's a perfect storm where automation is desperately needed.
Makes sense. Are we seeing real deployments?
We are. A key example is Amazon using Agility Robotics Digit in their warehouses.
Digit the one with backward bending legs?
That's the one. It's bipedal, designed to work in spaces built for humans. You can pick items, pack boxes, unload things, navigate aisles, and maybe even stairs that other robots struggle with. The idea is it works alongside people.
Taking over the grunt work, basically.
That's the pitch. Handling the repetitive lifting and moving, freeing up humans for more complex tasks that require judgment or dexterity.
And Tesla's Optimus fits in here too.
Definitely. Tesla's aiming for mass production, hoping to get the cost under $30,000 eventually. The goal is a general-purpose robot for dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks, starting in their own factories.
So they're using their own factories as the test bed.
Seems like it. It's a controlled environment, perfect for ironing out the kinks before selling it more widely. This strategy, starting in semi-structured industrial settings, seems common.
Why semi-structured?
Because places like warehouses or factories are more predictable than, say, your house or a busy street. The tasks are clearer, the environment is more controlled. It's a logical first step before tackling the chaos of the consumer world. Prove it works there, then expand.
Okay, industry is one big area. What about the care economy again, but more on the practical assistance side, beyond just social interaction?
Huge potential there, too. We're already seeing robots like Moxie from Diligent Robotics in hospitals.
Moxie, what does it do?
It's designed for logistics within the hospital. It runs errands, basically delivers supplies, lab samples, meds, collects linens, things nurses spend a lot of time doing.
So it saves nurses time.
A lot of time. Moxie's deployed in over 20 health systems, apparently saving nurses millions of steps a year. That reduces burnout and frees them up for actual patient care, which is critical. Moxie is considered pretty much ready now for that specific role.
Wow, that's a tangible impact already. What about helping people at home, especially the elderly?
That's a major focus, too. Beyond just companionship like Paro, robots like Grace are being developed to provide more hands-on assistance medication reminders, help with simple chores, maybe guiding physical therapy exercises, combining social intelligence with practical help.
And maybe helping with therapy itself.
Yeah, research suggests robots can be quite effective motivators during rehabilitation, sometimes comparable to human therapists for certain interactions. Given the shortage of healthcare workers, this could be incredibly valuable.
So whether it's Moxie in hospitals, Digit in warehouses, or Grace potentially in homes, the roles are expanding. But this raises an important question. How will these new roles redefine human work and our interactions? It feels like a really fundamental shift is coming.
It absolutely does. We're moving into uncharted territory in terms of human-robot collaboration and coexistence. But, despite all this amazing progress, we need to be realistic. There are still some major hurdles to overcome before we see humanoids everywhere.
Okay, like what? What are the big roadblocks?
Well, one huge one is still energy efficiency and battery life. These robots have tons of joints, sensors, computers. They chew through power. Fitting enough battery capacity into a relatively slim humanoid form to last a full workday is a massive engineering challenge.
Right, you don't want your warehouse worker needing a 3-hour charge break every 2 hours.
Exactly. It limits practicality. Another is the cost of components. We talked about actuators being expensive, high-end sensors, sophisticated processors. It all adds up. Costs need to come way down for mass adoption.
So performance per dollar is still a challenge.
Definitely. And finally, robust autonomy in truly messy, unpredictable environments. Getting a robot to navigate a pristine lab or even a structured warehouse is one thing. Getting it to reliably operate in, say, a cluttered home or a dynamic construction site, dealing with unexpected events gracefully, that's still really, really hard. Needs even better AI, better sensors, better air handling.
So still work to do on the technical and economic fronts. But assuming they overcome those, what about the bigger societal questions? The ethical stuff.
Right, and these are arguably even more complex. The most immediate one everyone talks about is job displacement.
Yeah, if these robots are designed for dangerous, repetitive, boring jobs, those are jobs people do now.
They are. And while some argue robots will create new jobs, there's a real concern about displacing workers in sectors like logistics, manufacturing, maybe even some service roles. This puts a huge emphasis on the need for workforce reskilling and retraining.
So helping people adapt to supervising robots or maintaining them rather than doing the task of the robot now does.
Exactly. Shifting human roles to higher-level tasks that complement the automation. But that requires massive investment in education and transitional support. It won't happen automatically.
What other ethical issues pop up?
Well, as these robots get more lifelike and integrated into our lives, what are the long-term psychological effects? Especially with social robots in care settings. What does it mean for human connection if companionship is increasingly provided by machines?
That's a deep question.
It is, and then you get to the questions of robot rights or personhood. We saw Sophia get honorary citizenship in Saudi Arabia, which sparked huge debate. As robots get more autonomous and intelligent, where do we draw the line? How do we handle responsibility if an autonomous robot causes harm?
Legal and ethical frameworks haven't caught up yet.
Not even close. And underlying all this is a kind of public anxiety, right? A fear of being replaced, of losing human uniqueness. That's a real psychological factor that developers and policymakers have to be sensitive to.
It really feels like these aren't just future problems. As these robots start getting deployed now, these questions become very immediate, very real for our society. Hashtag tag tag outro.
Wow, what a deep dive that was. We've covered so much ground today, from those ancient myths dreaming of artificial life, right through to the seriously complex engineering of walking robots, the AI making them smart, and even how weird we feel about them sometimes with the uncanny valley.
Yeah, and seeing how they're actually starting to show up in the real world in warehouses with Digit, hospitals with Moxie, it's not just theory anymore.
Absolutely. We've seen the incredible journey, the mechanics, the sensing, the AI breakthroughs like reinforcement learning and LLMs, and the real impact on industry and care.
It definitely feels like humanoid robotics is at a real turning point. You have the engineering getting mature enough, the AI getting powerful enough, and the economic drivers like labor shortages all converging.
A perfect storm, almost. Kind of, yeah. It's setting the stage for a future where these machines could really augment what humans can do, tackle jobs we can't fill, and maybe change how we live and work pretty fundamentally.
Which leaves us with a final big thought to chew on, doesn't it? Maybe the hardest part won't be actually building these amazing machines,
Hmm, possibly not in the long run.
but figuring out how to live with them responsibly. What does it mean for us, for society, to share our world, our workplaces, maybe even our homes, with beings that look like us, learn like us, but are fundamentally different? How does that change our definition of human in this century?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Something we all need to think about as this technology continues to unfold.
Absolutely. Lots to reflect on there.